The low hum of the spaceship was a constant, a soothing reminder that I was still tethered to something familiar. The sterile white walls of the craft did little to calm my nerves, though. I was on a mission, a simple one, or at least that's what they told me. Find the source of the signals, figure out what was going on, and report back. Easy enough, right? Except for the part where no one had bothered to tell me exactly what the signals were. All they'd said was that they were coming from a remote planet on the far edge of the galaxy. A place known for its silence, its emptiness. Great. Silence and emptiness were exactly what I needed on a Wednesday afternoon. It wasn't like I was used to high-stakes situations. I'd rather be home binge-watching a series than flying across the universe on some vague mission. The planet loomed in front of me now, a pale, dusty orb that looked unremarkable from space. I was supposed to land, check the equipment, figure out where the signal was coming from, and get back to the ship before sundown. Easy, except, again, I didn't expect to see her. There she was, sitting cross-legged on the ground, not even bothering to acknowledge the approaching craft. The sand around her shifted, swirling slightly in the still air. And I, being the professional explorer that I was, did what any self-respecting astronaut would do. I hit the airlock button and stumbled out without thinking. What the hell am I doing? I muttered to myself as the doors shut behind me. The ground beneath my boots was uneven, and my suit made a series of obnoxious hissing noises as I took each awkward step forward. The woman, if you could call her that, was sitting in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by nothing but the pale dust of this barren world. From a distance, she appeared completely human, except for the ears. Those ears. Long, almost elegant, and pointed like something straight out of a fantasy novel. Her skin had a peculiar glow to it, a soft, almost translucent white that caught the dim light of the fading sun. Her hair, bright yellow, almost golden, fluttered slightly in the wind, which didn't seem like it should be enough to move it, but I had more pressing questions than her hair. She looked calm, too calm, out of place even. She was completely still, sitting there with a serene expression that made me wonder if she was meditating or if she was just waiting for me to make the first move. I hesitated. Should I speak? Should I just sit next to her? What the hell was I supposed to do with an alien on a desolate planet? And why was she so damn calm? Hey, I said, the words tumbling out awkwardly. You okay? She turned her head slowly toward me, her gaze meeting mine with the quiet intensity of someone who had all the time in the universe. She didn't say anything at first. In fact, she didn't even blink. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, as if trying to figure out what I was doing there. Do you know what it's like to be stranded? She asked, her voice soft. But there was an edge to it that made me take a small step back. I blinked. Well, I mean, I was just kind of walking. But now that you mention it, stranded does seem to fit the mood. Am I stranded? I laughed nervously, not really sure if that was the right thing to say. Humor was my go-to in awkward situations. But here, I wasn't so sure. She stared at me for a long moment, and I suddenly felt like a total idiot for making a joke. But then, after a few seconds, her lips curled into a smile. Not a friendly one, more of a knowing smile. No, she said, the word lingering in the air. You're not stranded, but you will be soon. That wasn't comforting at all. I took another step back, my fingers hovering near the emergency button on my suit, but I didn't press it. Something about her presence made me feel rooted to the spot, like she was something important, dangerous. Maybe, but important, definitely. I didn't want to panic, but I also didn't want to get caught off guard. So, I cleared my throat. Are you stranded then? Or is this like a meditation thing? Her gaze flickered to the sky, as if considering my question. She seemed so serene, almost too calm for someone sitting alone on a hostile world. I'm not stranded, she said slowly. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I didn't know what to make of that. I tried again. Right, so, you're not from around here then? She raised an eyebrow. Do you think you are? Fair point, I guess. I was the one who had arrived in a spaceship after all. Okay, fair enough, I said with a slight chuckle. But I'm here for a reason. There's a signal. Well, there was a signal. I think it's coming from around here. Her eyes narrowed slightly. A signal? She seemed to weigh the word carefully. What kind of signal? Just some weird frequency, nothing big, I said, feeling a little ridiculous now. I wasn't a scientist. I was just the guy they sent in case things went wrong. I was sent to investigate. Check it out. She didn't respond right away, but instead, her hand brushed lightly against the ground. The sand around her fingers shifted, rising into the air like it had a mind of its own. My eyes widened. That wasn't just a trick of the wind. The particles of sand were moving toward her. She wasn't just sitting there. She was controlling it. I took a step forward, my interest piqued despite my unease. Okay, that's new. What are you doing? She looked at me, her smile widening. I'm not doing anything really. It's the planet. It answers when it's ready. I wasn't sure whether to be terrified or impressed. So the planet just gives answers? Cool. What kind of answers? She glanced at the horizon, her expression unreadable. The kind you're looking for, but not the ones you expect. I was about to ask her what that meant when the ground beneath us suddenly trembled, a low hum vibrating through the air. My pulse quickened. The vibrations were getting stronger. I could feel the odd sensation of gravity shifting beneath me, as if the planet itself was waking up. All right, I'm definitely not getting paid enough for this, I muttered, but my voice cracked slightly. I could see her grin now, like she knew exactly what was coming. Without missing a beat, she stood up gracefully, her long ears flicking as she did. Come, she said simply. We're going to need more than just your ship to figure this out. I followed her, knowing that whatever this was, it was way beyond my pay grade. And deep down, I couldn't help but feel this was only the beginning. The ground trembled again, this time more violently, and the faint hum in the air grew louder. I had only just caught up with Nara, my boots kicking up sand as I followed her through the rocky terrain. I glanced over at her. She moved with a fluidity that made walking seem effortless, her bright yellow hair trailing behind her like a banner. I felt like a toddler trying to keep pace with a marathon runner. So, any idea what's going on? I asked, puffing out a breath to keep up. She glanced over her shoulder, her expression unreadable. I'm sure you have plenty of theories. I chuckled, but my heart wasn't in it. Yeah, mostly things like, why the hell am I on a planet with a giant sandstorm and an alien woman who can move sand with her mind? Nara didn't respond immediately, instead casting her gaze upward. The sky above was a deep shade of violet, like it was still twilight, even though hours had passed. I was beginning to wonder if the concept of time worked differently here too. No storm, she said calmly. It's not the weather. The planet is responding to the signal. Right, sure, I said, still not entirely convinced. That sounds reassuring. So the planet's, some kind of sentient being? Is it alive? Does it have feelings? She smirked, though I couldn't tell if it was amusement or just a sign of her otherworldly patience. It's not a being, it's a place. But yes, it is listening, and it answers. I snorted. Well, that's oddly convenient. Could have used a place like that back when I was trying to get a date in college. She stopped in her tracks, and I almost ran into her. Nara turned slowly, her long, pointed ears twitching as if she'd heard something I hadn't. You were unsuccessful with women? She asked, her voice laced with genuine curiosity. I raised an eyebrow, confused. I wouldn't say unsuccessful, more like strategically avoiding long-term commitments, if you catch my drift. She tilted her head in that thoughtful way of hers. You do not want long-term commitments? I scratched the back of my neck, a little flustered now. You know, I was kind of hoping you'd steer us away from that topic. She gave a quick, silent laugh, and I could have sworn the ground underneath us trembled in response. It was like the planet itself had laughed, as if it was in on the joke. Not everything is as it seems, she said cryptically, before continuing forward. I hurried to follow, my mind still racing. Not everything is as it seems? Yeah, I could get behind that, considering I was currently trekking across a strange planet with a woman who wasn't even remotely human. The very least she could do was answer my questions instead of dodging them. We walked in silence for what felt like an eternity, though I had no way of measuring time here. The further we went, the more I noticed that the landscape was starting to shift. The smooth, barren ground gave way to jagged rocks and what looked like ancient ruins half buried in the sand. Some of the structures were shaped like nothing I'd ever seen before. No recognizable architecture, no obvious purpose. It was as though someone had designed them without any concern for functionality or symmetry. Are these buildings? I asked, looking at the formations. Nara stopped and looked up, her expression unreadable. They are not buildings, not in the way you think. I squinted at her. Not buildings? What then? She gave me a sidelong glance, but this time there was a flicker of something in her eyes. Something between amusement and something else. You'll see soon enough. I groaned inwardly. This was starting to feel like a particularly weird dream. I mean, one moment I'm having a semi-normal conversation with a very strange woman, and the next I'm walking through ruins that seemed as old as time itself. Who was I kidding? This wasn't normal, and I wasn't exactly sure if I wanted it to be. We finally reached one of the largest structures, a massive circular stone archway. At least that's what I thought it was at first. The stones were intricately carved, but they seemed to shimmer as if they weren't made of stone at all. I reached out tentatively, touching one of the pillars, and immediately felt a pulse, a strange, soothing vibration run up my arm. It wasn't painful, but it wasn't exactly comfortable either. You feel it too, Nara observed, her voice unusually quiet. Yeah, I replied, pulling my hand away. What is it? Some sort of energy? She nodded. Yes, the architecture here is more than what it seems. It's connected to the planet. It's alive. I gaped at her. Wait, the whole planet is alive? And these ruins are its nerve endings or something? Not exactly, she said with a soft laugh. The planet doesn't have nerve endings, but the energy is woven into everything here. The planet's consciousness, if you will, is embedded in the land itself. I rubbed my temples. Okay, this is a lot to process right now. So you're saying the entire planet is basically a living organism, and the structures are some sort of connection points? Something like that, she said. She was making it sound so simple, but I was still trying to wrap my mind around it. The planet speaks through its energy, and the signal you've been tracking, it's not just a signal, it's a request. A request for what? I asked, feeling a sudden chill run down my spine. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped forward toward the center of the archway. The ground beneath us shifted again, this time with more urgency, and I heard a low rumble, a growl almost. The air around us seemed to vibrate in response. It was as if the planet itself was waking up. The signal is a plea, Nara said softly. It's calling for help. Before I could ask her what kind of help the planet needed, the ground cracked open before us, sending a shock wave of energy rippling through the air. I staggered back, barely keeping my balance, and looked up at Nara in panic. Are we supposed to? She smiled, her eyes shining with an odd, almost mischievous light. No turning back now, is there? And with that, she stepped forward, disappearing into the crack in the earth. Without thinking, I followed her, my heart pounding in my chest. Whatever this was, it was far bigger than either of us had anticipated. As I followed her into the unknown, I couldn't help but think. Maybe the planet wasn't the only thing that was alive. I followed Nara deeper into the fissure, the ground beneath us pulsating like a heartbeat. The air felt heavier now, thicker with the strange energy that seemed to be everywhere, alive, sentient, as though the planet itself was holding its breath. The walls of the crack were smooth but glowed faintly, like the veins of some immense, ancient creature. Every step I took echoed, bouncing off the unseen expanse ahead. It felt like we were walking into the belly of the beast. So, what exactly are we looking for down here? I asked, trying to lighten the mood. The silence was starting to get to me. We're looking for the source of the request, Nara said without turning. The plea. I couldn't help but chuckle nervously. Right. The plea. That's comforting. She didn't respond, her attention focused on the path ahead. I followed her, but the question lingered in my mind. What kind of request was a planet making, and why was I involved? We reached the bottom of the fissure, where the ground leveled out into a large chamber. The air was thick with an electric hum, and the walls seemed to pulse in rhythm with the sound. At the center of the room was a massive, translucent orb floating a few feet above the ground. It was about the size of a small car, its surface shifting with patterns of light that were both hypnotic and unsettling. I couldn't look away, drawn to it in a way I couldn't explain. Nara walked toward it, her presence as calm as ever. This, she said, her voice soft, is what the planet is. I raised an eyebrow. A giant, glowing orb? She turned to me, her expression serious. Not just any orb. This is the heart of the planet, the core of its consciousness. I stepped closer, the air crackling as I approached the orb. It felt familiar, like I'd seen something similar in my dreams, or maybe in 1,000 sci-fi movies. But this was real. The orb pulsed with a quiet intensity, and I could feel its weight pressing down on my chest. The planet is alive, I murmured, finally understanding what she meant. It has consciousness? More than that, Nara replied. The planet is not just sentient. It's connected to all things, to the stars, to the galaxies, to the people. It's a conduit, a bridge. A bridge? I echoed, my head spinning. A bridge for what? She didn't answer immediately, instead walking up to the orb. She placed a hand on its surface and the light patterns within it shifted, swirling and coalescing. The orb seemed to respond to her touch, and for a moment I thought I saw something. Someone inside. It was fleeting, just a glimpse, but it was enough to make my heart skip a beat. What is that? I asked, stepping forward. The consciousness of the planet, Nara said quietly. It's lost. It's not supposed to be here. It's trapped in a loop, a cycle it cannot break. I frowned. Trapped? How? The signals you were tracking, she continued, are not from the planet itself. They're from a species that tried to harness its energy. They killed it, in a way. They fractured its consciousness and left it to drift in space, unable to reconnect to the rest of the universe. I felt a surge of anger rise in me. So these people, they did this? They just broke a planet? For what? Power? Nara turned to me, her eyes darkening. Yes, and it's worse than you think. They're not gone. The signals you heard were their call, their attempt to finish what they started. They've been trying to re-establish a connection for centuries. I swallowed hard. And we're supposed to just stop them? She nodded. The planet has tried to reach out, but it can't do it alone. It needs a host, someone with a connection to the energy. Someone like you. I blinked, trying to process what she was saying. Wait, me? You want me to, what? Become one with the planet? Her eyes softened and she took a step closer. It's not like that. The planet doesn't want to consume you. It wants to merge with you, to restore balance. It needs someone to anchor its consciousness, to link it back to the fabric of the universe. I shook my head, still reeling. And why me? Why not you? I'm not human, she interrupted gently. You are. You have the connection the planet needs, the empathy, the potential. It took a moment for her words to sink in, but when they did, a wave of realization washed over me. I wasn't just here to investigate signals. I was here because this planet, this living, breathing being, had chosen me. I was the key, the missing piece. You're saying I have to become the planet's anchor? I asked slowly, feeling the weight of the decision settle on my shoulders. Nara nodded. Yes, you are the bridge. I swallowed, feeling a knot form in my stomach. This was bigger than anything I had ever imagined. The planet needed me. The universe needed me. The fate of something that could span galaxies rested on my shoulders. But there was a part of me, the part that had always avoided commitment, always run from responsibility, that wanted to run away. It was too much, too overwhelming. And yet, as I stood there, staring at the orb and feeling the strange pulse of energy fill the room, I realized something. The choice wasn't about what I wanted, it was about what needed to happen. I looked at Nara, her face soft but determined. She wasn't asking me to sacrifice myself. She was asking me to step into something much bigger. I could feel the pulse of the planet now, beneath my skin, in my chest, in my bones. It wasn't fear I felt. It was something else, something warm. So what happens now? I asked quietly, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions swirling inside me. She smiled faintly. Now you become one with it. You help it restore balance. You'll return to the stars, to the people, to the universe. You'll bridge the gap. I stepped forward, slowly, hesitantly. As I reached out to touch the orb, the energy around me surged, wrapping around me like a comforting embrace. For the first time, I didn't feel alone. The planet's consciousness enveloped me, not in a way that was consuming, but in a way that was liberating. It wasn't a merging, it was a partnership. And as the light from the orb flared and filled the chamber, I understood. This wasn't just about the planet. It was about me too. I had been searching for something, my whole life. For meaning, for purpose. And now, standing at the heart of a living world, I realized that sometimes the answers aren't in the stars. They're within us, all along. I felt the energy shift, and the planet seemed to breathe, its hum fading into something peaceful, something whole. My journey wasn't just about saving a world. It was about finding my place in the universe. And in that moment, I knew I had found it.